Picture this: a stage illuminated by blinding lights, the roar of thousands of fans filling the air, and every move met with deafening cheers. Yet behind the dazzling facade, his body was silently screaming in unbearable pain. This was the reality for Elvis Presley in his final months, pushing through relentless tours and unimaginable physical struggles that would break most. But why did he keep going, even as the toll grew unbearable? What secret was driving him forward? The answer will leave you speechless. Elvis Presley's rise to fame was nothing short of meteoric. From his first television appearances that sent shockwaves through the nation to becoming the undisputed king of rock and roll, he captured the hearts of millions. His swiveling hips, mesmerizing voice, and undeniable charisma transformed him into an icon. Elvis was not just a performer, he was a cultural phenomenon, redefining music and entertainment for generations. But while the world marveled at his brilliance, few understood the heavy burden that came with such unparalleled success. Behind the glamour, a more complex story was unfolding. By the 1970s, the golden sheen of his earlier years began to fade, revealing cracks in the facade of perfection. Elvis's health was rapidly declining. His once athletic frame had given way to significant weight gain, and he struggled with chronic insomnia that kept him awake for days on end. In an attempt to cope with these mounting challenges, he turned to prescription medications. What initially provided relief soon became a necessity, deepening his dependence. As his body grew weaker, the demands of his career showed no mercy, pushing him further into a relentless cycle of exhaustion and desperation. Fame, once his greatest triumph, had become a double-edged sword. The adoration of millions brought immense pressure to deliver, to perform, and to sustain an image of invincibility. Elvis was more than just an entertainer. He was the lifeline for those around him, the provider for a massive entourage, and the anchor for countless livelihoods. But as the weight of these responsibilities grew heavier, the cracks in his armor became impossible to ignore. How did one man shoulder such a staggering burden while keeping the world captivated? The answer reveals a tale far more human and tragic than anyone could have imagined. By the later years of his life, Elvis Presley's health was in a downward spiral. Chronic pain became a constant companion, stemming from severe arthritis that gripped his back and neck. His immune system, weakened by years of relentless stress and physical strain, struggled to fend off even minor infections. What the public saw was the glittering figure on stage, but behind the scenes, Elvis was battling a body that seemed to be giving up on him. His physical ailments were no longer just fleeting discomforts. They were daily battles that drained his strength and tested his resolve. Those closest to him bore witness to the toll his declining health had taken. Backup singer Kathy Westmoreland recalled how Elvis would confide in her, his voice heavy with despair, saying, "God, I hurt all over." On other nights, he'd plead with her to rub his legs, whispering that they were killing him. His hairstylist, Larry Geller, remembered Elvis's deep worry about his worsening condition, remarking how Elvis was certain that something was gravely wrong with his body beyond what anyone could diagnose. These glimpses into his private pain painted a stark contrast to the vibrant persona he maintained for his fans. Despite his suffering, Elvis's work ethic was nothing short of extraordinary. In Las Vegas, he performed 2 shows a day for an exhausting 30-day stretch, a grueling 60 performances in just 1 month. And even when visibly unwell, he refused to cancel a show. The pressure to keep going, to meet the expectations of his audience and those who depended on him, seemed to fuel his determination. But this unyielding drive came at a steep cost. Night after night, he pushed his body beyond its limits, all while masking the anguish that threatened to consume him. How long could he continue this balancing act before the cracks became impossible to hide? The answer is as heartbreaking as it is astonishing. Touring, for most performers, is a blend of exhilaration and exhaustion, but for Elvis Presley, it was a grueling test of endurance that pushed him to his limits. The unrelenting schedules, the packed arenas, and the demand for perfection all took a devastating toll on his already fragile health. To keep up, Elvis increasingly turned to medication, not for indulgence, but as a desperate measure to numb the pain and combat the crushing fatigue. Each tour became a cycle of physical strain and chemical relief, a dangerous balancing act that only deepened his dependence. Behind the scenes, the glamorous world of showbiz revealed its darker side, where survival often came at a steep personal cost. One chilling incident during his fourth tour stands out as a testament to the extreme measures taken to keep him performing. Elvis, semi-conscious and visibly unwell, was unable to prepare for the stage. In a frantic effort to revive him, his team dunked his head into a bucket of ice water, a moment that starkly illustrated the physical and emotional toll he was under. And yet, that night, he stepped onto the stage as though nothing was amiss, his legendary showmanship masking the immense suffering beneath. These moments weren't anomalies. They were becoming the norm in his relentless push to fulfill his commitments. Driving much of this pressure was the influence of Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager. For Parker, the show always had to go on, no matter the cost. Financial obligations loomed large. Debts, payrolls, and the livelihoods of an entire entourage depended on Elvis staying in the spotlight. Even as his health visibly declined, Parker's focus remained squarely on maintaining the revenue stream. Elvis, ever the provider, carried the weight of these expectations, unable to rest or recover for fear of letting down those who relied on him. The combination of physical anguish and unyielding external pressures created a perfect storm that no one could escape unscathed. But what was the breaking point? That's where this story takes an even darker turn. As Elvis Presley's health continued to decline, those closest to him pleaded with him to take a step back, to rest, and to prioritize his own well-being. Doctors issued warnings, friends expressed concern, and even his loyal fans began to notice the toll the relentless schedule was taking on their idol. Yet, despite all of this, Elvis felt an unshakable sense of duty. He wasn't just a performer, he was the backbone of an empire that depended on him. The salaries of his team, the financial stability of his family, and even the debts of those around him weighed heavily on his shoulders. To Elvis, stopping wasn't an option. It was unthinkable. This unwavering sense of obligation came to a head in his final days. On stage, he still dazzled audiences, but backstage, the strain was evident. Before his last performance, Elvis admitted the truth of his condition in a heartbreaking confession. "My body really hurts," he said, his voice tinged with exhaustion and pain. But even in that moment, he made a resolute promise. "No matter what, I'm going out there tonight and giving everything I have." It wasn't just a statement, it was a declaration of his enduring spirit and his refusal to let anyone down, no matter the cost to himself. That final performance encapsulated the man Elvis had always been, a relentless showman who poured his heart and soul into every moment, even when his body was begging for rest. It was a bittersweet testament to his character, one that spoke of profound strength, but also of a tragic inability to prioritize his own health over the needs of others. What drove him to this breaking point? The answer lies in the complex web of responsibility, loyalty, and unrelenting pressure that defined his final days, a story that continues to resonate with those who seek to understand the man behind the music. In the final days of Elvis Presley's life, the cracks in his health became impossible to ignore. His body, battered by years of grueling performances and relentless touring, was struggling to keep up. Fatigue and pain were his constant companions, yet he pushed through with a determination that defied logic. His last concert was a poignant mix of triumph and tragedy. His voice still carried the magic that had captivated millions, but his physical state told a different story. On stage, Elvis was every bit the king, pouring his soul into each note. But off stage, He was a man barely holding on. It was a bittersweet moment, one that would mark the end of an era. What kept him going, even as his body begged for rest? The answer lay in the immense sense of duty he carried. Elvis was not just a performer. He was the cornerstone of an entire network of people who depended on him. From his family to his entourage, he felt the crushing weight of their financial and emotional reliance on him. Even as his health deteriorated, he couldn't allow himself to stop. He famously said, "Everyone's relying on me," a sentiment that underscored his deep loyalty and sense of responsibility. But this drive, this unyielding commitment to others, came at a cost, one that would soon become devastatingly clear. On August 16, 1977, the world was shocked by the news of Elvis Presley's untimely death. He was found unresponsive at Graceland, his legendary home, and efforts to revive him proved futile. It was a heartbreaking end to a life defined by extraordinary highs and equally devastating lows. Adding to the tragedy, plans for yet another tour were already underway. Elvis, ever the provider, had intended to keep going, to step back onto the stage and continue his reign. But fate had other plans, leaving fans and loved ones to grapple with the loss of a man who had given everything he had until there was nothing left to give. If you found this story as captivating as we did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join us for more incredible insights into the life of Elvis Presley and other fascinating stories. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with fellow fans. And most importantly, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the pressures Elvis faced in his final days? Drop your opinions in the comments section below. We can't wait to read them.